Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Love of Learning. I'm your host, Dr. Carl S. Moore, and I am so excited today to be joined by one of our wonderful faculty members, Cheryl Berman, who's in our English and World Languages program here at Howard Community College. For those of you, if your first time viewing the show, just to let you know that this show is here to elevate our programs and the faculty members who teach within them. So I'm so delighted to have you here. Thank you for joining me and taking some time out of your busy day.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes, indeed.
And I am delighted to be here and share the ideas from our program because we have many. We have many languages that we offer. And so I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to be chosen by our group to be here with you.
Yeah, you come with high regard in terms of when we're looking for faculty to come on. So you're highly regarded amongst your peers and colleagues. Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
So the first question I have, and I have my, we can go off script. It's not, going to be too regimented. Is that if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you teach here, which is obvious, but then also how long have you been teaching here?
Okay, I've been teaching here a long time. I teach Spanish for the most part, although when I first came in, I was a French teacher. And then the Spanish teacher took a leave of absence, and I substituted, and I've been here teaching Spanish ever since. The department started out as not a department, but rather just a couple of courses.
Okay.
And I, as a part-timer, would come in at night and teach the course and run back and deal with the family. But ultimately, the languages began to grow, right? And we began to have an entire sequence for both French and Spanish.
Okay. So you're Spanish. You're trained in Spanish or French first, or is it double?
French first.
French first.
Yeah, all of my work towards PhD is in French.
Oh.
But the problem with my teaching French became that there were many, many French teachers who needed jobs.
Okay.
And not as many Spanish teachers who needed jobs. And since I could do both, I decided to take the Spanish and give some of the instructors the opportunity to teach.
Awesome. And then you're trained, obviously, in French. If I hear correctly, you have your doctorate in French?
Almost.
Almost your doctorate in French. The Spanish, how did you acquire that?
I went to Universidad de los Andes.
Universidad de los
Andes.
Andes,
In
okay.
Bogota, Colombia.
Ah.
Colombia with two O's.
Colombia.
And then subsequently, because I knew that the most important thing was to just keep speaking, we actually did, my family and I, exchange programs. So we would have students come and live with us, and we would actually share time. They wanted English, I wanted Spanish, and so every single day we did practice, because practice is the way you learn language.
It's the best way to learn.
It is the best way.
I've had this, I remember in elementary school, there was a person who came in to do language with us, and the stuff that I learned then, it still sticks with me, and I haven't elevated as much as you would think. I've had, Spanish in high school and college, etc., but my times, and I've stayed in Mexico for with my godfather for it was almost a month. Traveling, the times that I've been, I've learned more than all of those years of school.
Absolutely.
Wish I could run away for a year to a Spanish-speaking country to,
Me too.
really.
Actually, we had a great study abroad program in Mexico that we began, and we would take students for 3 weeks in the J term, in winter, between the two semesters, and they would study for about 6 hours a day, live with a family in Mexico, because we were at a university in Mexico. And then we would do excursions with them, free time. And at that time, it was such a good thing because it was pre-problems with the drug lords. So we were
and it was,
okay to be there.
It was safe, and there wasn't the apprehension. And
yeah.
Okay.
So they learned so much. And what was really fascinating was they could take, for example, a 101 class here, come with me to Mexico, and with the study for 6 hours a day for 3 weeks, and the extra kinds of things that we would give them, they could earn their 4 credits for 102 and come back and do 201.
Oh,
So
wow.
they could actually complete the requirements. We would hope they'd go farther, of
Yeah,
course.
at
But
minimum.
they would actually complete the requirements that they need for, say, UMBC or College Park, and they were quite happy. And that study abroad program increased enrollment like you can't believe.
What is this? Are there opportunities still like this for students? I know
We're
have.
working on it with
Okay.
with Mary Allen.
You have my support.
Yeah, no, we're working on it. We can't go to Mexico just yet because
Understandable.
the State Department rules and regs prohibit that. But we're looking at programs in Ecuador, and let's hope a lot was being done pre-pandemic, but as we know, a pandemic messed up lots
Yeah,
and lots
definitely.
of things. So, but it gives students the idea that they can do something, and the reality of what language is. It's not a textbook kind of thing. Although we use textbooks, we have to have some sort of guide.
Some guide. Yeah.
But it's a reality. Language is a reality. It's communication with other people. And when students realize that communication is so exciting with other people, they're motivated to keep moving with it. And they tell their friends about it. And it really just snowballs into something wonderful.
That's beautiful, and it's the. I was going to say it's the language, but it is of social communication. You can't do anything without communication.
You
so
can't do anything
it's so
without
essential to
communication.
human relations. So,
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing I think that students realize when they're actually using language in context, in the real context,
Okay.
being in another country, being lost, having to find something that they need at the pharmacy, those are the kinds of things that are tools. They realize that language is a tool that can go in many different directions as a helper to whatever it is that they're interested in doing for their future.
Wow.
So, I like to tell students that they can minor in a language rather than just major in a language because they have the skills of their major, and it's being held up in addition
Yes,
with
indeed.
these skills of communication. And it's really, really important that they realize those kinds of things. That it's
Yeah.
not just sort of like, okay, it's like Spanish, it's French. We have a lot of languages that we offer. And, those kinds of languages can help them, guide them into some sort of really successful
Wow.
career.
Yeah, you bring up there's so many questions, so many things I want to ask you. The fact that a language can be, at minimum, complementary to whatever path and kind of guide students on the path is something that, I don't know, when I was in high school and, I thought about it, but I don't know if enough people think about it, to your point. If they're thinking, hey, pursue this, I think there's certain careers and there's certain folks who think that they should, or if they're interested. What are some of the other, beyond the language, and I think you were getting at it, what are some of the other kind of like competencies or takeaways? So, okay, you're going to know the language, but how does it help a person in other ways once they become more proficient in a language, or when they learn a second language? Are there other elements that people are learning that your average person doesn't know, like
Culture.
culture? Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
And I think it's important to understand what culture is. Culture is not just going to a museum. It's not just eating other kinds of foods in different ethnic groups.
Right.
Culture has many different aspects. And culture is people. And being able to understand through language, understand other people better, and understand their perspectives better, and understand their whole essence, their way of life better, is such an important, I want to say skill, but I'm not sure that's the right word.
I understand.
But-
Yeah.
And we in our courses really, really work to marry the culture and the language together. You can't do language by
So they're
itself.
not just learning how to speak; they're learning. It's like a sociology element of it. The culture, the people.
You have to. You
okay.
have to.
Yeah.
You can't just do verb conjugations.
That's what I remember from my thing. No.
Most people do.
Yeah.
And that's why most people haven't gone as far as they can. Because I think really everybody can do a language. You know, there's a fear factor with learning languages. And I like to say everybody can do it. It's the way it's being taught and received.
That's the mechanism that needs to change.
And the mechanism
Okay.
of the overlay, let's say the overlay of culture to the language structures themselves. When those things merge, you have a really, really good situation. And so we do lots and lots and lots with culture. And again, not just what's visible, because there's that sort of outer layer of culture, which is good. People understand it, people can see it, and they can be fascinated by it. But as it goes deeper and deeper and deeper into how people think, how people feel about certain things, then it becomes more meaningful to the students. And today we had a report about Bad Bunny. And it was a really great report. It's a student who has struggled a little bit, and that's okay. You can struggle. But she gave a report about Bad Bunny, and she did a really good job because she was passionate about the subject
Bad
matter.
Bunny's popular.
But she got into that Bad Bunny isn't just a rapper, but Bad Bunny is looking at Puerto Rico and the issues that Puerto Rico has had because it has become this sort of tourist community, and how that sort of tourist community has robbed some of the essence of the Puerto Ricans themselves. And
the culture element.
and so
okay.
here's a student who is just a regular student looking at something that is the outer layer of culture, and she's taken it inside herself.
Wow.
And all of the students were really fascinated by her report.
Wow.
It was really, really a good report. That's what I'm saying, that the cultural element can be the sort of a real motivator to the language itself.
Well, and I know you seem like a humble person. I know this is a testament to your effectiveness and just the attention that you pay to your craft. Because I've had Spanish, I've had a number of, and every it's not always that opportunity to have that fusion, but hearing it makes so much sense, and it's just such the secret special sauce about it, where I could totally see, because I know that even when I travel abroad or what have you, that connection to the culture, interest in it, it makes, when you're kind of enmeshed in it, it makes it that much more exciting. And I never, in all honesty, I never really considered how it's an essential ingredient
It is.
to learning until this conversation. So that's really great.
And you know what was really fascinating? In my 101, which are the beginners, I have a class with a girl from Trinidad, 3 Nigerians, a Haitian, Dominican, and a Romanian girl.
Oh, wow.
Among others. And in the 101 report, they did reports on a festival in their country. And everybody that was watching, right, like my lab assistant who, we have to grade these things.
Right.
We were fascinated with not just their celebration, that outer layer, but because each of them got into the celebration that included their family, potentially their religion, and at the end of it, I was like so thrilled to see these values sort of like popping out right in the middle of a requirement. So it was really, really very cool.
Very fascinating. So it's like because of Howard Community College being such a diverse institution, you have, that's another added benefit and layer, the kind of intersection of cultures or learning about this culture through the lens of these other cultures. That must be really a really
Well,
fascinating
what they had
experience
to
for you.
do was really interesting. They had to talk about the celebration as their ancestors would have done it,
Uh-huh.
how they celebrate it as immigrants to this country, and connect it to the Spanish-speaking world.
And they had to do all this in Spanish.
Spanish and a little bit of
Like
English.
a little bit of English.
A little bit of
Wow.
English.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Great. So, if I'm a student out there, or a parent, or a guardian, or someone who cares about someone who likes who is going to be pursuing or is pursuing their education, what should they know about the program? Should they, or about English and world languages, about from that perspective? Is it you can minor in what languages can you minor in here
Okay,
beyond
we
Spanish?
have a world languages program, so they
And
can
this
get
is
like a
certificate
graduate.
or an actual AA, and they can
Yeah.
transfer with it, or
Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
Associate of Arts.
So it's a world language program, and there's a number of courses that they take within that program, and some of the credits have to be in language. Some are in, they're getting their degree, so it's the requirements of the degree.
Okay.
So the parents should really know how many languages we offer. We offer so many. We have a really strong ASL program, really, really strong.
American Sign Language.
Right?
Yeah.
We have Arabic, we have Chinese, we have Italian, French, Hindi, although it's not being offered right now.
Yeah, I've seen the list.
So many
Yeah,
languages. And that's really important because we have to show a critical mass, right? To be visible, I think.
100%,
You want the visible mass there. We have programs within the language that are very, very interesting. We have the StarTalk program, which is funded by the government, and students come in over the summer. Well, actually, it's a year-long program now, but the intensity is in the summer, where, again, they merge culture and language together. For high school students, and that's a really strong program. The kids come out of it really, really loving.
If I'm a high
language.
school student or parent or a guardian of a high school student, how do I find out about StarTalk?
You
Counselor? At
Yeah,
their
the
high
counselors
school?
all
They'll
know
coordinate?
about
Okay.
the program. The director of the program is the lead Chinese teacher here. Chinese and Arabic are the two languages of StarTalk right now.
Okay,
Some
Chinese and
could be
Arabic.
added in the future, but we never know exactly how the grant will be written. And we have, for example, along with the program, we have what we call the corners, where they do the cultural piece again, practicing the language, because we would love to have language like 24/7 for these students, right?
Yeah, of course. And we would like to travel
And we would like to
and
travel
love to be in every other country.
constantly with them, but we can't. So we have these language corners in certain of the languages where students come in maybe every couple of weeks or once a month, depending on the language, and they practice their language, and then again they're involved in the cultural aspect of the language, or the country or countries that speak the language. So we have a lot of different ways to look at language. In the fall we try to do something for international education with our program, and this year we had some really, really excellent people. We combined with some advisors from the University of Maryland. For example, that was one thing that we did. And in the spring we celebrate world languages, and this year we've come up with the idea that we're going to talk about connections.
Okay.
So in talking, for example, with Dr. Saleh, the Arabic lead, and the Middle Eastern language coordinator, we're going to talk about how we link Saudi Arabia with northern, right, with Egypt and Sudan, how that filters into Spain with the 700 years that we had the Arabic-speaking populations in southern Spain. And then we hope to do the same thing with the Chinese and Korea, Japan.
Oh,
So,
wonderful. Those corners, right? Yeah.
So we're going to that'll be the World Languages Celebration in March.
On the celebration in March.
So we try to do two major events, one in the fall and one in the spring.
And tell me a little bit more about that event. Is that something is it open to the public, or is it
Sure.
something on?
We would invite the public.
Wonderful. So they'll come on campus, and what a person experience the opportunity to engage in If you can fill in the blank there.
Some will be little short sessions where we talk about things. Others will be where we show things. For example, Dr. Saleh is traveling over the break to Saudi Arabia himself, and I've asked him to take a lot of pictures so that we can, because sometimes people have zero idea of what another country looks like.
Yeah.
So it's important to somehow get people involved by visually and doing things. We like them to do things because, picture, like the famous expression, pictures speak 1,000 words.
Going back to the opportunities, and I'm so excited that we're starting the study abroad again. So if there's multiple layers. You have folks that they need exposure to the idea, the language, the culture, and at least in a theoretical or conversational sense. Then you need folks to see the pictures, and nothing, of course, as you'll attest to, nothing can take the place of actually being there and feeling it.
No.
And the cool thing about our area, and this is just in a form of kind of verifying with you, is that living in a DMV area, it's such an international kind of feel, more so than any other place in the country. And it seems as if the necessity of world languages, especially in all the ones we offer, it seems to be so critical to just everything that we are, right? And to some degree, would you agree with that?
I'm
kind of feeling that now. I didn't think about that before.
No, I do agree with that. I think that students maybe not yet have seen the importance of how the language is going to filter into the people that they meet.
Yeah.
The first and second and third jobs that they get. How to interact with other people is critical. And if you only interact in a certain sort of bubble, how are you going to deal with the world?
Yeah. You're limiting. There is this concept. There's probably a technical way to say it, and you can help educate me. It's where it's like thinking in that language or thinking in Spanish. Could you tell me a little bit about that? So, with different languages that you kind of have to get into a certain feeling before you can kind of speak the words, and that just access to new feelings. But is that a thing? The whole I have to thinking in the other language or feeling in,
which is the importance, goes back to the importance of how we do our instruction.
Okay.
We must speak the language in the classroom.
Okay.
Right. We can speak English as we teach, and you can learn about a language.
Oh, I understand.
But if you want to learn the language, you better be hearing the language, and hearing it in sort of these little parcels, so that they become something familiar to you. You've heard it over and over again. Levántate, siéntate.
Yeah.
And they begin to feel those rather than, okay, what does that mean? I have to think, what is she saying when she wants us to get up? Oh, yeah. No. You have to use it and let them hear it. And I'm always telling them, language is learned right here, in your ears. Not in your textbook. Well, you have to use your textbook. Please.
Well, that's speaking of textbook, and I love this. There's so many nuggets here, but the piece about feeling. So if I'm watching, or at least Carl knows at minimum, if no one else picks it up, is that I know that I'm going to be a better overall, say cultured. I can be more effective in every aspect of life by knowing a language, and it can help me in my career. But this element that you mentioned about being exposed to culture is there. The feeling part, what you just mentioned, is also another nugget that I'm guaranteeing you most folks aren't thinking about when they think about language, to think about that feeling. Because when you just said levantes or siéntese or whatever, that is a feeling more than it's just, the cognitive learning piece. And I hadn't often associated the learning, the feeling part. I definitely wasn't associating the culture part, but this is another nugget that I'm picking up from what you're saying.
Yeah. And students don't quite know what I mean at the intermediate level when they're dealing with some of these more complex structures.
Yeah.
And I say, You're not going to get it right every time, but at a certain point, you're going to feel it being right.
Wow.
And
Okay.
by the time they get to 202, let's just say on a structure like trying to figure out which past tense they need to use, they'll say, okay, we've got it. We can feel that a little bit more.
How fascinating is that? Is
But
that? I'm so sorry. No.
No, it's because they're hearing it right.
Okay. Okay.
That's what's important. You cannot just be, a parrot for taking an sort of an English situation and transposing it into another language. It's got to be the language itself, right from the beginning. And there's all kinds of ways to do it, and we all do it. We use our bodies. We use everything at our disposal to be able to impart the language, and till they get it.
I'm as excited as I am about this conversation. I'm a little disappointed that I hadn't been exposed to language in this kind of way a long time ago.
I was going to say,
right now,
me?
I had to set it up like that because it's I won't say life altering is what I'm thinking of saying, but it really does change it from something that you do or learn to something that you can be.
Yeah.
You can be a different person.
And language is people.
And the language is people, the culture.
People.
Yeah.
And if you look at students and listen to them, and really that's so important. Listening to your students, knowing a little bit about them, so that you can use your classroom as a way to reach each one of them, right? Somebody who's interested in sports, somebody who's interested in X, Y, or Z, and you use that to motivate them in the language itself. And you hear them coming back with the right kind of idea about what language is. Language is people. I have a friend, and I'm at the mom's house, and she makes this food, and we love being there, and you can sense.
Oh, goodness.
Okay. You can sense.
This is wonderful. Language is the culture, the people, the feeling, all
Right.
nuggets. And,
During the pandemic, we also had to initiate the COIL project.
Yes, yeah. If you can break down COIL for folks who may not know.
I don't even know what the initials stand for. But what it is you connect classrooms here with classrooms abroad. And again, it was the people, right? So it wasn't as really good as being with the people, but okay, so you're on screens and having little conversations with them. And again, connecting with people. And the students love that.
That's awesome. And the COIL is the College Online International Learning, something of that sort.
So
that's beautiful. We do have COIL programs here
in Ecuador.
And
I think in Denmark.
Denmark, which is beautiful. It leverages the technology and the language to really make the world a little smaller. Well, this is wonderful. So one of the questions I was going to ask you, which you've answered already, but just to be explicit about it, is like, you can tell when someone has it's like a passion or a love or like a calling. It seems like a calling for you, this whole, because of especially some of the nuances. What would you say you love about teaching world languages, or whether it's French or Spanish, and what would you say students usually love about it? And it may be some of what you provided, it may be something different. What do folks love?
I love my students. I love giving them the opportunity to discover. And you can see it when they make their own discoveries. So you provide this wonderful sort of ambiance of learning, and when you can see them discover something, when they discover it, they learn it.
That process.
So I love that.
Yeah.
And I love them discovering that there's not just one way to think about things. There's so many ways of looking at the same thing. So many perspectives. So I love that. And and they love discovering.
You love that, and they love it.
That's actually what a great classroom should be, is when learning and teaching are one thing.
That's beautiful. It's a you. So you love the paradigm shift, the kind of expansive thinking, and you've seen that they fall in love with it. They love that part as well.
They
Wow.
do. They do. So I just love students.
Okay. So this is my final question here, since we're coming up on time. And thank you. This has been wonderful, and I'm not just saying this because it's an interview or you're on the show, but I really have learned lots, and it kind of sparks and remotivates me. I have a 7-year-old who has taken a liking to language, and she loves people. She gives people hugs in supermarkets, so it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. But now I know that if I'm a person who's interested in people, culture, feeling. Even if I'm not interested in language, I know that in so much as that it can kind of tend to some of those interests, that language can be a gateway for that, or it can be a way.
Absolutely.
Whereas before I was just thinking about the content and being able to speak it to do like more of a transactional sense. But my final question here is for any student considering attending HCC, is there anything else that you'd like them to know about any of the programs in English World Languages, or anything that you have not shared for someone considering coming here?
I think I've said a lot.
Yeah, it's been pretty great.
I think that our language program is extremely welcoming. We sort of sign on heavily with HCC philosophy that we want student success, and we look to individual success, right? Like I like to say to my students, and I always say this the first day of classes, this is the last time I'm looking at you all as a class. I'm looking at you as individual learners, and I want to reach each of you. So you have to make that sort of jump halfway.
Wow.
So
Wonderful.
I guess that's what I would
thank
like
you.
to tell them.
That's a beautiful way to end, because that's what you're going to get at HCC. We have amazing professors like Cheryl Berman, Professor Berman, and hopefully you've learned a lot about English World Languages and a little bit more about the love for learning here. So I'm your host, Dr. Carl S. Moore, and thank you so much for joining me. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thanks again for having me.
Yeah, thank you.